up, everybody? Welcome to Ask Shane Anything right here on SIFTD Games at SIFTD.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, the Shane. It's a part of Ask Shane Anything. Hope you guys are having a good week. I'm definitely having a good week because a bunch of y'all are supporting us at patreon.com/SIFTD, and a lot of you are pledging at that Ask Shane tier at $7 or more per month now. It's only $5 a month to get all our content early, but because a bunch of people are going above and beyond, this show keeps happening, and I love doing it, so thank you very, very much. We have another great round of questions this week. Let's get right to them. All right, our first question this week comes from Joaquim Dragoon. Do you think the video game industry is heading into a recession or depression due to the amount of games published and how long it now takes to make a game? Should console makers stick with their current consoles for a few years longer? Well, here's the thing, Joaquim. I think everything's going into a recession. I don't know about a depression. I think that might be a little too far. I think the U.S. economy is probably too resilient and too big to go into a depression anymore. I don't think we'll ever see what happened in the 30s happen again. Everything's just evolved to a point where I just don't think our economy would break down to that point again. But a recession, I mean, every single financial indicator right now is saying that that's where we're headed or we're already there. So everything is going into a recession, which means, of course, that the games industry would also go into a recession. But that's not what you're asking. You're saying, specifically, is the games industry in trouble because of policies and things that are happening, decision-making among the platform holders, among third-party publishers? Is it going to be exacerbated by that and make it worse than what we're dealing with in general with a possible recession? So here's the thing. Yes, I don't know that I would define it as a recession. I think this is probably permanent. I don't think that this is like a temporary thing and eventually it's going to rebound. I think what we're starting to discover is that there aren't a lot of people like us to replace us. There just simply aren't people who are interested in buying multiple video games per month or at least one game per month all year round. That's just not the way it works. A lot of people just find one free game that they like and they just keep playing that into infinity. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if I would call these people gamers. I think they use video games as a tool to communicate with friends. I feel like they look at it as almost like a social network. How we used to look at MySpace and stuff like that, and Facebook and things like that, how we use that to communicate with our friends and our family. I think that's the way a lot of the younger kids look at video games. I don't think they look at it like I'm a gamer or I like to play games. I think they look at it like I like to talk to my friends, and while we're doing that, then maybe we can do some other stuff. And it just so happens that games is the one thing that does that because they built the communication tools inside the products. So recession, no. I don't think it's a recession. I mean, the industry will recede along with the general economy like every other industry will. But I just think what we're seeing is just a general decline in interest in what we've been interested in for the last several decades of our lives, assuming that most of the people watching this are roughly my age. Most of you guys are probably a little younger at least. But I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're going to see a permanent recession in the games industry, meaning that every successive generation, less consoles are going to be sold. And look, I'm not worried about what I like going away in my lifetime. I have, 20, 30 years left? I don't think that it's imminent. I don't think that, the PlayStation 6 is going to be the last video game console or anything like that. I just think it's going to be a slow decline until it does start to get to the point where the companies that are working in these spaces start to wonder if it's worth it anymore, and maybe they leave the space and do something new, or maybe something comes along that changes everything. I guess maybe what we need is a paradigm shift. I think we need that one product or that one game that everybody is just like, this is next level, and this is what I want out of games, that draws new people and new interests, or just gets those lapsed people to come back and start playing games again. We thought we had it with COVID, with Animal Crossing, and no, it just turns out that people were bored out of their minds, and they had nothing to do, and they're like, well, playing a video game is probably better than sitting here and staring at the wall for the next 2 years. That was an opportunity, I feel like, for the industry to put out something groundbreaking at the time that would just blow people's doors off and keep them hooked into gaming. Because what we've seen is a lot of the people that we picked up during COVID and the pandemic, those people have mostly just gone right back to the way their lives were before the pandemic, and they have not stuck with gaming. So It gets harder. It's the law of diminishing returns. Every time you release something that's cool or unique or different, it makes it harder to release something else that's cool or unique or different. And that's not just in games, that's in every industry. And we're definitely getting at the law of diminishing returns. Now, your solution was to let the console generations go on a little bit longer. I mean, they've been doing that. Don't forget, it wasn't that long ago that every console generation was 5 years. It was 5 years. That was it. It was a cycle. Now, 7, 8, 9, 10, I mean, they're already doing it. And are they doing it because they fear a recession? I mean, right now, with tariffs and all the other stuff going on, yeah, I think they are going to extend this generation because they know that people are probably not going to be willing to pay what they're going to have to need to pay for the new console. So we've talked about, will the consoles come out before Trump is gone? I mean, who knows? My guess is probably not until they know for sure that the tariffs are going to be gone and they could charge a reasonable amount for this next generation of consoles. So we'll see. But I don't think that the games industry is going into a recession. I think it's more that it's just on a steady but slow decline. All right, next up we have a question from Jonathan Sasson. Given the current economic conditions and the higher than expected price point, how is the Nintendo Switch 2 still selling so well? Could buy now, pay later financing options be contributing to its strong performance? Okay, Jonathan, what you're referring to there is something us old people used to call layaway. Back in the day, there used to be this department store called Hills. It was kind of like Walmart before Walmart. And the funny part was that Hills went out of business somehow, and then Walmart appeared and became the biggest. Anyway, it's really weird that it didn't survive. But anyway, Hills is gone. But one thing I remember about Hills was layaway. It was where you could take something up to this counter. You could say, I want this, put down like $5, and then every month you'd come in and put down another $5 until you paid it off, and then they give it to you. Kind of the same thing that you're talking about right here. That has kind of gone away over time, but you're right, it's kind of been revived. Almost every time I buy something now, the retail website offers like monthly payments of $15.49. It feels like every retail website or app now lets you choose to like pay it off in monthly payments. And that includes the places where you would buy Switch 2. So you're asking if that's why people are buying Switch 2. Here's the thing. I don't think when you buy something on layaway that immediately counts as a sale. I don't think that sale counts until you've actually paid off the product and the sale is complete. Then I think it counts as a sale. I'm not 1,000% sure on that. You've actually brought up something that I'm confused on and I don't know what the answer is. I would think logically that wouldn't count as a sale until that thing is paid off and the consumer gets the product. That'd be my guess. I don't know 1,000%. So I do not think that is why the Switch 2 is doing so well. I think the Switch 2 is doing really well because there's a lot of Nintendo fans out there. There's probably, I think until the Switch 2 gets to around 15 to 20 million sold, that's where I think Nintendo's going to have to work for it. I think until then, there's just that many Nintendo fans around the world that are that hardcore that just want the new Nintendo console. And they're going to buy it. Look, a lot of people make big sacrifices to buy these things. I would suggest right now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I'm about to make a big sacrifice in my life to buy a Switch 2, I would probably argue against that. I would say maybe wait until the holidays and maybe have your family buy you one or your significant other buy you one instead. I would not put myself out for a Switch 2 at this point. That's what I'm getting at. So I think maybe people are doing that, but really, it's just that there are that many hardcore Nintendo fans. It's really not that many. I mean, they've only sold, 6 million at this point? And again, I think there's 15 to 20, worldwide, 15 to 20 million hardcore Nintendo fans. And until they satisfy all that demand, they're just going to keep selling. It's going to be hard to find them. Now, you can find them on shelves if you walk in stores at the right time. If you go to websites at the right time, sometimes they're in stock. They're not just out there yet. And I don't think they're going to just be out there until you satisfy that hardcore Nintendo fan demand. So I think probably midpoint of 2026, probably all those people will have achieved the success of owning a Switch 2. And then I think that's when Nintendo is really going to have to work for people to buy it going forward. Okay, our last question this week comes from Kevin. Hi Shane, I just read that a remake of the original BioShock was canceled. How hard can it be to remake or remaster an already existing game? Okay, Kevin, while I agree with you that it's absurd to cancel a remake or a remaster, if you're not getting it done, just find another studio to do it. It's not hard. You're absolutely right. The code's there. BioShock isn't old enough that the code's wonky. You can still use the code as a good base to build the new version of the game. You have to upres the textures for 4K and do some other stuff, although that's probably already been done anyway in various remasters or whatever. So that's why there's dozens of port houses out there. That's all they do is convert old code into new code. It's not a challenge. But see, that's not why it was canceled. The reason it was canceled is because BioShock 4 is not rounding into form. And my guess is that there was a big plan that they had where they would put out the remaster or remake of BioShock 1, and then 4 months later, 5 months later, they put out BioShock 4. Because let's not forget, it's been a long time since there was a new BioShock. Over a decade at this point. So the people I was talking about earlier, they've never even heard of BioShock. They have no interest in buying a BioShock game really at all. So you have to kind of use the first BioShock remaster remake as a Trojan horse. You put that out, people like me talk about it and say it's awesome, it's cool, like everybody should play it. People maybe give it a chance, maybe there's a free demo and they try it out or whatever. But the bottom line is now people know that BioShock exists. And then you follow that up with the new game, BioShock 4, 6 months later, whatever. I think that was the plan. And I think once they've realized that BioShock 4 is not going to be ready, because let's not forget that the reason BioShock 4 has been sent back into the oven is because of the narrative. And that is something that will change the entire game if you change it. So if they go back and rewrite the story, they have to redo all the cutscenes, redo all the voice acting, bring all the actors back in to redo performances. It's not as simple as like, wow, our engine will only run at 30 frames per second. Can we optimize this so it runs? It's not like that. This is something that's foundational that will literally set the game's development back probably another 4 years or so. And so my guess is Take-Two looked at that and was like, man, the BioShock remaster remake's going to be done in like 18 months. And then what do we do with it? Do we put it out? Do we sit on it for another 3 years waiting for BioShock 4? So I hear you. I could see why you might think that's why, but it really isn't. It's either what I said or something entirely different. But it's more likely that it was just a big plan to kind of reintroduce BioShock into the ecosystem, get people used to it, get people familiar with it, and then drop BioShock 4. And unfortunately, with the state that BioShock 4 is in, that's just not going to happen. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Ask Shane Anything right here on Sifted Games at sifted.net. A big thanks to anybody who is pledging anything at patreon.com/sifted. Even $1 is a huge help, but for $5 a month, you get all our content early. For $7 a month at that Ask Shane Anything tier, you can guarantee that this show keeps on happening, and I hope it does, because this is undoubtedly one of the highlights of my week every week. So have yourselves a great week, and never forget that sleep is for the dead, the game's instead.